Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. Let's go now into the details of some of our top stories. You may be rejoicing over government's plan to cut electricity tariffs. That will mean more money in your pocket. But today, the experts are warning of some dire consequences for the power sector if a clear roadmap is not engineered for that plan. We'll hear the concerns and also hear from government on why they believe that measures implemented since they assumed power in January have created the conducive environment for the cost of production to go down. We have more views on the feasibility of the plan coming up on the port today. Well, let's start with the caution from the minority in Parliament. Their spokesperson on Mines and Energy, Mutawakilu, is warning the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission not to approve that proposal for reduction in tariffs. He spoke on JoyNews desk.
It's about what will be the impact on electricity bill of the ordinary Ghanaian. That is the most important thing. It's not, so if you have 1 million, you pay 100 cedis a month, with the 13%, you expect to pay 77. Is it really the case? I think that at the end of the day, the difference will be so insignificant.
13 cedis is quite...
No, I'm not talking, it won't be 13 cedis.
Why won't it be 13 cedis?
Because the system cannot absorb that. Let them go to the tariff structure and look at it and do either the electricity charge, or they want to increase the bound and all those things. It will become difficult to absorb the 13. The system.
So you are saying that government will not be able to effect a reduction of 13% as
I have a doubt. I have a doubt, a great doubt. Looking at the reckoner that I studied and the tax structure, the tariff structure, it will be difficult for the residential to hit that. It will be difficult. You know, there are several factors that is why I say first, exchange rate. The cedi we know very well is not stable. The fuel mixed, we know that it is. MIDA is coming in September, and there will be a tariff review. In next year, there will be major tariff review as well. And the indicators are not pointing. While we are doing we will look vis-a-vis the independent power producers. That if they realize that they are not meeting their target, they can decide not to be producing much, but they will still take what we call capacity charges to cover the cost of the equipment. It must not preempt by putting a regulator that is independent of the government, the institution, into this type of position. I pity the CEO of PURC. Because by now here his team are saying government said 13% for residential, 21% for high mining and what. So how do we achieve it? But if the government has sought approval from PURC...
But again, we don't know the discussions that have happened before they came to present this budget.
As far as we are concerned, government is here to send its recommendations to PURC. So we can't lift any veil to see what happened behind. If something happened behind, that would have been government sending the recommendation to PURC. PURC approve of the recommendations. Then government comes to tell the people that this is what reduction that will take effect from January 1st. But as we speak, we don't know when it will take effect. Is it January 1st, 2018, or February or March? We don't yet know. So customers shouldn't jubilate about a reduction. There's no reduction as we speak, and we don't know how much the reduction will be until PURC approve.
Mutawakilu is minority spokesperson on Mines and Energy. Well, that position is shared by experts at the energy think tank, the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment. Ishmael Ajakumhene is executive director.
I know the sector has a lot of challenges, so my only concern is it really free? Is it going to be a reduction, or it has implications? So, I mean, we just launched a bond to clear energy sector debt, and these are some of the reasons that have contributed to the debt stock that has been hanging over our neck. So, unless I see exactly what is given, is it that we are super efficient now, and that we're able to produce cheaply? I can understand the argument that probably because we have more gas coming through and most of the plants are being fired with gas, cost of generation would come down, and that should translate into reduction in tariffs. But I am a little bit concerned that it could be another situation where, well, we promise to reduce tariffs, so let's reduce tariff, and somebody would have to pay for it at the end of the day.
Mr. Jikumhene, some believe that government will find a way, like you just mentioned, to get the cost covered. What is your reaction to that in terms of looking for other avenues to reduce cost?
Well, finding a way, government can always find a way to doing things, but when it comes to energy, and given the fact that we've all been talking about this legacy debt that is killing all the banks internally, whatever money they find, I hope if it's a subsidy, then I'm worried. But you see, if it's the fact that the dynamics have changed, and now instead of more crude, we're using gas, then it's okay. But let me also quickly add that there is some justification for us to look at a certain category of consumers. I mean, the industrial consumers who are paying a lot more money. There's some justification in there, but my concern is how do we fund that reduction? If it's going to be another debt somewhere, then I am not excited.
That's kites there speaking their mind. But Deputy Minister for Energy, Mohammed Amin Adam, says the plan is feasible.
I've done, it's two ways of addressing the high cost of energy. And the first way is by reducing the cost of generation of electricity. And the second way is by issuing a new tariff policy, which is within our mandate as a government, which PURC will implement. And so with the reduction in the cost of generation, as Ishmael rightly said, most of our thermal plants have moved to natural gas, and the gas component in the cost built up is what fundamentally we have been able to reduce. For instance, we know that the government of Ghana has a free foundation gas of about 2 billion standard cubic feet, and we have used just about 300 million standard cubic feet or so. And so we still have enough foundation gas that could take us to 3-4 years. Therefore, given that the foundation gas is free, we have just stripped off that component from the cost of generation. And so the delivered gas price has substantially gone down as a result of that. In addition to this, the transportation cost of gas from Atabo to the power plants has also gone down.
All right.
Following the injection of 10 gas in the system.
Dr. Anta.
At the time the transportation cost was fixed, it was only Jubilee gas which was brought into the competition.
All right.
And so with 10 gas coming on, the cost of transportation has also gone down.
Mohammed Amin Adams there. Let's go on the line, speak to the former Power Minister, Dr. Kwabena Donkor. Doc, thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse. You think that this plan is not feasible as well. Why do you think so?
Well, I'm not saying it's not feasible. I'm saying the government is going about this in a very circumlocucious way. If government wants to reduce tariffs, to go straight ahead and reduce the tariff. After all, government controls a significant portion of the tariff. The power tariff is made up of the energy charge, it's made up of levies, and it's made up of taxes. Levies and taxes are directly in the domain of government. So if government wants to reduce those, the government can go ahead straight away and remove those taxes.
But then there are state institutions like the PURC that's supposed to be responsible for tariff adjustment. So government is then doing the right thing.
The PURC is not responsible for tariff adjustment. It is responsible for computing tariffs. PURC has no responsibility over taxes and levies. only has responsibility for computing and approving the energy charge.
Exactly. So thank you for that correction. But they're not approving. So if they are to approve, why don't you go to them for that approval? They're doing the right thing.
You don't recommend. If you read the text said government will recommend to PUS, and if PUSC accepts or agrees, PUSC has no business agreeing or not agreeing about taxes and levies. It is directly in the domain of government. We have reduced the tax. PUSC will only use the reduced tax in the computation or the reduced levy. Importantly, on fuel, there are also taxes on fuel, on gas. Fortunately, we now have the 10 gas in addition to the Jubilee gas. And hopefully sometime next year, we'll also have the ENI Sankofa gas. The taxes on gas, on the fuel, can also be further reduced. And that will come to the same result. But I also have an objection to the direction of even the recommended reduction. If you take a look at SLC medium, the proposed reduction is 11%. A number of our factories, manufacturing entities, they fall within this SLC medium, and they are going to get an 11% proposed reduction. The mines are getting 21%. The mines add very little value to start with in the value chain. They are largely multinational owned. And what then happens to our indigenous factories, our indigenous manufacturing entities? And it is these manufacturing entities that employ the chunk of our people. We want to encourage industrialization. We want to encourage manufacturing. Why are we proposing 11% for them and 13% for consumption? There's a certain convolution.
Okay, so if I understand you, I just want to be sure that we're on the same page. If I understand you, you have two main issues. First of all, you think that government
I have a number of issues.
Okay, you've just raised two with me, and I just want to be sure that I get you correctly, so we're on the same page. The first is that you think that government can actually just go ahead and do its own reduction if it wants to, without necessarily including or involving the PRC. Secondly, you think that there's too much reduction for the mine industry, and that it doesn't encourage local participation. Is that correct?
No, you're getting me wrong. I am saying that in the first one, government can go straight ahead with the approval of Parliament and reduce the taxes and the levy. That will immediately impact on the computation by PUS. That is one. The second one is that even in the direction of the reduction, what do we want to encourage? If we want to encourage industrialization, manufacturing in particular, then SLC medium, where most of our factories are, should not receive the least reduction of 11%.
Okay.
The mining sector has relatively very little value addition. It's basically an extractive industry and largely foreign owned. It should not receive the highest reduction of 21% at the expense of the manufacturing segment, the SLC medium that we are proposing 11%.
Okay.
That is my second.
But let me go back to your term in office, sir. Could you have done this whilst you were the power minister?
I mean, we had a power challenge. It was always on the card that when the situation stabilized, we were going to look at our cost build-up. As a country, we are paying a little bit more for power. However, you could not talk about reduction when your situation has not stabilized. During the stabilization phase, you can then look at the components, the build-up, and there is also a direction that has not even come through all of this discussion. All over the world, the norm is that residential customers pay more for power than industrial consumers. In Ghana, we've turned it upside down. So it has always been part of the power sector reform program to realign tariffs to reflect this reality globally.
What government is proposing to do now seems to be in contrast to what you think should be.
Yes.
Okay.
On 2 cars, it is wrong for industrial customers to subsidize residential customers.
Okay.
It is wrong for production to subsidize consumption. And that is exactly what all the players in the industry have recognized this over a period of time. So if the government wants to address this, one of the ways they can do is to have a reduction in residential, but a greater reduction goes to the industrial customers, so that the cost of production will drop. Ghana can then become more competitive in the sub-region, and then more jobs can be created. What is also totally missing from this is conservation. We believe, and Energy Commission and other operators will tell you, that the average household can save as much as 30% of its consumption through conservation. If we were to place a lot more emphasis on conservation, then the savings, if the household saves 20-30%, that will go to reduce the effective tariff paid by the household. And the government has been very silent on that. Okay,
so we'll say a very big thanks for your time here on the show. Dr. Kwabena Donkor is a former power minister. He says that government is solving the problem, or the problem within the energy sector, upside down, and that those who are supposed to be paying less is industry, and consumers, domestic consumers, should be paying more. Let me take a quick break. When I return, I'll be having a conversation with an energy expert, Kwadwo Poku, in the studio. Away with the politics, we'll look at the situation on its merits. Please stay with us.